Welcome to Illuminati Silver. We tell you the truth about silver. Today is Monday the 19th of October 2015 and we're addressing the issue as to why Mike Maloney, Jim Sinclair, Rob Kirby, Eric Sprott, Gregory Mannarino and other gold and silver pumpers may be doing you a disservice and could be encouraging economic collapse to occur. Before we begin addressing this directly, we wish to define what we regard as a pumper and a serious pumper. A pumper is an individual who embarks on attempting to persuade people or paint the picture that precious metals, and especially gold and silver, have only one future price direction, and that is up. Serious pumpers, in our view, take this a step further by claiming that these price rises will be of a magnitude greater than anyone can imagine, and that this leap in price is likely to happen any day soon. Now, in our view, there is nothing wrong with being bullish about precious metals. In fact, we are bullish about gold and silver, especially gold in the medium term, with silver eventually following. However, a new art form is being created by the pumpers. They have set out to persuade you, and anyone who listens, that global financial collapse is imminent. They have set out to persuade you, or anyone who will listen, that hoarding gold and silver will protect you from that collapse. They have set out to persuade you, or anyone who will listen, that it does not matter what price you pay now for this gold and silver. When the collapse occurs, your cost price will pale into insignificance when compared to the new price this metal will reach. So, how do these people, many of whom having created very elaborate and professional videos, books and newsletters, do you and me a serious disservice? Well, the most obvious is that they frighten people to overcommit their resources into just one asset class, which any competent financial advisor will advise you not to do. They may not say it directly, but the fear they engender, both consciously and subconsciously, causes this result. The second is that they persuade or frighten you to buy at any price. And as many have witnessed over the past 4 years, this has resulted in a 30 to 60% reduction in one's net worth. One can live with that if there is no need to sell. But not everyone is fortunate enough to be in that position. The third and most important disservice is that they may bring on the very collapse that they have been forecasting, or at the very least cause it to happen sooner than it needs to. It is this third point we wish to elaborate upon a little further. When someone invests in any asset or commodity, they generally do so because they either expect the price to rise or that they will derive some form of earnings from that asset. This decision is based on confidence derived as a result of hopefully good research, recommendation, and future forecasting. When someone sets up a new business, they do so generally because they have the belief and confidence that they can make a success of this new venture. When a couple decide to have children, they have, whether consciously or subconsciously, made the decision that they have confidence that they can bring up that child appropriately and introduce it into a world which they would like that individual to grow up in. In other words, they have confidence that the child will have a happy and creative life. If the parents did not believe this, then the only word to express such a decision would be sadism. When someone hands over or receives a dollar or a pound or a euro, they do so in the belief that the currency can be exchanged for something of value to that person. In other words, they have confidence in that unit of exchange. These 4 examples, and the many actions which are taken daily, are surrounded by or supported by that critical word, confidence. Now, when that confidence is eroded, decisions and actions taken vary considerably from the original ones. If you believe that an asset is going to fall in value, you either don't invest, or pull out if you have already invested, or you short it. If you believe that the business has no future, you either don't start it, or you close it down. If you believe that the world is about to be destroyed, or nuclear war or famine is about to occur, you delay or indefinitely put off having that child. Finally, if you have no confidence in the currency you are using, then you refuse to accept it in exchange for goods and services. So where are we heading here? Well, anyone who studies economics and world events know that we are currently in a worldwide economic slowdown. A number of countries are in a state of recession, and those that aren't are experiencing lower levels of growth. Europe, the USA, and China certainly fall into that latter camp. Now, there are many reasons for this fall in growth, too many to mention here, but suffice to say that history has shown us that growth only reappears or reignites when confidence in the future raises its head. Now, whether we agree with the strategy or not, countries, governments, and central banks either believe in or are experimenting with QE, or quantitative easing, as a means of sparking growth in their economies and engender confidence in its people to invest, to build, and to embark in entrepreneurial activities. There is some evidence that this is happening, but unfortunately it is happening to such a small extent, the cost of the investment is greater than the benefits derived. In other words, the inputs are greater than the outputs. This can only go on for a certain amount of time. Now, should we all prepare for this? Well, of course we should. But unless one has an existing considerable financial resource, this will take some time to engineer. So whether you are building shelters, storing food, buying precious metals, ammunition, or whatever prepper activity you deem appropriate, very few people can do this on the turn of a pin. It will take time. So, the pumpers who are crying imminent collapse from the rooftops, or are shouting, "China's dumping the dollar, it will soon be worthless," are deliberately attempting to create panic and undermine confidence in the financial and economic system. And they may be doing so generally because they have precious metals, books, or reports to sell. In other words, to make profit from you. As the eroding of your confidence takes hold, it does not take a genius to realize that panic soon sets in, which in itself causes the final day of reckoning to occur much faster than it would otherwise have done. Now ask yourself these 2 questions. 1. If financial collapse is inevitable, so that I have time to prepare, would I prefer it to happen now or later? And 2, who will actually benefit should economic collapse occur tomorrow? Well, those with wealth, however you may define it, who can then purchase the assets which people can now no longer afford for cents on the dollar or pennies on the pound. So when you see Mike Maloney, Gregory Mannarino, Eric Sprott, Rob Kirby and Jim Sinclair and people who are far worse pumpers than them warning you that collapse is imminent, we say beware. Instead of doing you a service by pre-arming or pre-warning you, they are in effect helping to cause this collapse to occur sooner. Rest assured that if gold and silver is the answer in such an environment, these guys already have enough resources today not to worry should the collapse occur tomorrow. In fact, the sooner it happens for them, the better it is, for they already have that wealth to purchase your assets on the cheap. There is a fine line between helping people to prepare and causing panic to undermine confidence. And whilst we have made up our minds where these guys sit, you can only do that for yourself. We hope you have found this video helpful and informative, and would appreciate it if you would give it a thumb up, comment, and if you haven't already done so, please subscribe. Disclaimer: Silver Illuminati owners come from a background of banking, international wealth management and economics. Having now retired from these worlds, we're not qualified to give investment advice. Therefore, this and other productions must not be deemed to be giving such advice, and merely represent the personal views of its owners.